Hi, good afternoon. This is Brandon Reading, the Environmental Advisory Council in the City of Erie. Let the record show that's 3:05. Begin with roll call. Campbell, here. Alvin. Here. Curtis, absent. Leeberg is absent. Mason, here. As in, Tupper, here. All right, so let the record show that we have a quorum, 5-0, 5-6 vote. But 5 members present. Next on the agenda, approval of the January 2025 evening minutes.
Moves to approve the minute.
All right. Second. All right, sounds good. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Carries 5-0. We're going to move on to public comment, approval of the agenda. Any items to add? You can work at it.
I'm out on one item, sorry, let's I came downstairs. I'd like to add just for old business, I guess it's under new business. It would be, it's under new business is being, wastewater treatment. Wastewater, Basil Renzetti wastewater treatment facility.
Right. Accept the agenda with the amendments. No motion.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, agenda is approved. And your agenda is approved. Yes, moving forward regarding the agenda, the items are on the agenda. We'll hold it to the very end. If we have time to discuss them, sometimes things come up and we want to discuss them further, but and interrupt the item alone. So moving forward, keep that in mind. Next is public comment. We have any members of the public here comment?
I just had a question. So was there some way public knew where exteriors? Yes. Okay. Yes, we posted it on City Hall Chambers. Yeah. And I told you downstairs, if anybody comes, call me on my cell phone, maybe I can. Or I could look it up. Yeah.
There's no public comment. We'll close that. Moving on business. Item A, priority LCAP priorities with like some categories of funders, networks, and for grants.
So we, Sarah and I have been working to see if we can figure out how to apply for the P4P grant. And it turns out we did end up speaking to our funding partner from last time, UPMC, Hammond Health Foundation, to be the funding partner for the second round, and they didn't have sort of enough time and they really didn't have a funding stream that would fit into what we're trying to do, what we're trying to accomplish with the LCAP. A current funding stream, right? So Sarah and I decided to pivot a little bit and look at if there were any available funds internally, grant funds internally that we could use to hire a consultant and develop the LCAP. So these are internal grant funds that Sarah has currently. And we're speaking with Public Works, with Jason and the mayor, of course, yes. Once we can go over all the details. Go over the details and also make sure that it's in line with the funding that we already have. So that's good news because it would allow us to move a little bit quicker if we can use already existing internal grant funds. The P4P grant, there were a lot of moving parts that we needed to get all our ducks in the row, and we didn't have that timing. We didn't time it appropriately.
Because our money hasn't even been allowed to be the match. It has to be from the funding agency. So
there are other grant opportunities that we can look at, but for purposes of developing the LCAP. This seems like a good process for right now. So we'll keep you posted.
Thank you for the update, Ms. Dunn. Any other comments, concerns, questions regarding night?
I just wondered if there's any sense of how the general, I hope this isn't off topic, but how the general outlook for getting grant money for implementation, just because of the changing dynamics of climate change funding, federal government, et cetera.
Well, we need to develop the plan first before you can start implementing it. So there's still time to figure that out. I mean, we can't jump too far ahead.
Right.
You have to develop the plan first, and that's a 1 to 2 year project by itself. So good.
And I should note that while we're not going after that P4P grant, and EPMC is not supplying us at the moment with funding, they're very interested in the LCAP. They're interested in the impact and the social determinants of health related to climate change and some of the other things. So they want to be part of the process.
And they may be able to fund future projects.
Yeah.
That's your deal. Including implementation possibly, right?
Well, thank you. Any other comments? Great, seeing none, we'll move on to the second item, and our second priority is the single-use plastic and litter mitigation, Section A, plastic bag ban ordinance review and comment.
So I sent, so I got this from Penn Environment. I sent it around to everybody. I don't know, shortly after our last meeting, hopefully everybody was on by. You guys have checked to make sure our adjunct members were on there. It's the first page really kind of focuses on kind of the why a municipality would have the authority to implement this kind of ordinance. And then it gets into the particulars. This, based upon the comments last time, this particular sample ordinance not only focuses on plastic bags, but also I think it's utensils and foamed plastic, so styrofoam kind of stuff.
Not bottles.
Not bottles, no. I mean, we can't, not bottles, but stuff is happening on the Erie Waterworks side of the project. So this is focused on single-use bags, expanded polystyrene food service containers, and single-use plastic utensils. And it kind of sets out with a lot of things that could be changed. I mean, they don't highlight the charges for paper bags, but that can all be changed, right? So there's a number of things that could be worked out here in terms of the details. We could also just focus in on plastic bags themselves. But I think it's a pretty nice kind of framework, and allows us something to start with in terms of having conversations.
If you leave it as retail establishments, does that include grocery stores?
They should explain what a retail establishment is.
Getting through one budget.
They do. Under definitions, number 8. So this is on page 1, 2, 3, 4. Number 8, it says retail establishments are a location where food or other products are offered to the public for direct sale or delivery to a customer, including but not limited to supermarkets, convenience stores, service stations, delicatessens, department stores, dollar stores, clothing stores, restaurants, pharmacies, food trucks, farmers markets, or delivery service, but not including dry cleaners.
I'm seeing it's exempted bag, but where are you looking?
Next page, page 8.
Oh,
Number 8.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's a whole section on definitions that goes through how we define a customer, an effective date, exempted bag, polystyrene, plastic, recycled paper bag, retail establishment, reusable bag, single-use plastic bag, single-use plastic utensil.
That already recycle all my plastics. Last.
Recycling.
Yeah.
That's takes care of the problem.
So
Okay, glass can be recycled infinitely, but plastic cannot be. So your plastic is not, you can't recycle all plastic.
it's a good doing. I've been doing this for years.
You're talking about the International Recycling Group, Newbin, their offshoot collects plastic, but they don't have a facility.
They're not recycling.
They're not recycling.
Recycle it?
No,
No,
they don't have a facility.
they want to recycle it in the future, but they haven't been able to start recycling it.
So is it saving it all?
They are, you don't really know. We've asked people to do investigations.
So the city's curbside recycling program doesn't accept silverware or plastic plates or cups or bags. That's only number 1 and 2 containers like bottles, jugs, and jars, like laundry detergent, water bottles, milk jugs, screw chocolates. So anything else isn't recyclable in our program, and Newman's program hasn't. They haven't really started recycling it, even though they've been collecting it.
Unless there's an actual market for recycled items, it's not really bad.
That is Japanese in 4 years.
No, it's guilt free. They don't recycle them either. Nobody can
This is
recycle.
a United States wide issue. This isn't just a city of Erie or Mill Creek or local. This is happening worldwide.
That's when more municipalities are looking at single-use plastics. Like when we were out in California and Monterey, they had a ban in their city, but that's obviously really progressive out on the East Coast. So
So what happens? I don't know if grocery stores are still having those bins where you can put almost anything. What do they
Well,
do
no,
with
they
that
use the
stuff?
bags. You can recycle plastic bags as long as it's curbside. It goes to a material recovery facility or a MRF. And those where all your single stream recycling is mechanically separated by machines. And because of that, you can't put a bag in there because it gets tangled up in the machines. And so the grocery stores and there are places where you can take all of your bags and recycle them. And that doesn't, because it's only bags, it's shipped and melted down. And generally speaking, they're forming things like
plastic
the
decking, plastic
decking.
lumber.
Yeah.
But you have to take it to one of the places that only accept the grocery bags, like at the grocery store bin.
Right. But a lot of plastic bags end up overseas.
Well, a lot of recycling.
Yeah, it depends on who they have their contract with.
Yeah.
But I know that big decking, that Trex decking, they sponsor a lot of those bins and because they can't get enough material for their uses. So
It's actually,
yes,
It's used one more time. So that's another thing. People call downcycling is a better term for it because once that decking is
at the end of its life.
at the end of its life, it becomes landfill. Plastic as a material is at best recycled 1 or 2 times, whereas glass is infinitely recyclable. Metal is infinitely recyclable. And paper is about 10 times before it basically becomes dust.
waste prevention is the highest good.
Yeah, exactly. So that's really where this is focused. So this is focused on reducing the production of what becomes waste.
Let me ask you, in your bylaws, you have the ability to create advisory committees. Would you perhaps you'd want to create an advisory committee for this particular ordinance? And because this is going to require more support and more more of a internal drive to do this. So it's,
To be able to get the administration and city council to
Yeah.
pass it is what she needs.
Yeah,
It's
and
gonna
I-
have to go through a lot of drafts.
right, and you're gonna involve, we'll have to involve the solicitors, of course, but I mean, ordinances obviously get put on to agenda all the time, but they're not, a lot of times, they're not, they're not enforceable, they're not being enforced.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
what we could put it, we could always throw it onto agenda and have council members support it, but it doesn't mean that it's actually going to happen. It's actually, it won't be enforced.
Yeah,
It will be
That's-
passed, you mean.
It will be passed, but it won't be, well, it could be passed.
You have to get the support ahead of time. You really have to put the time in to get support of the more than one council person, because the majority has to pass
Well,
it.
yes, but what I mean is we have plenty of ordinances that are passed where even council members might pass them, but they're not being.
Enforcement, yes.
Right.
Yeah,
Enforcement
I
is
can think
key.
of one in particular.
So can I.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
enforcement is
also-
key. And so that's, I think that's where like the charge for certain items becomes a mechanism to fund like enforcement. But no, I mean, these are, I think that what we just discussed last time was that I would get the sample legislation, show it to this group. And then I thought the next step, but we can change that. But I thought the next step was that the city council would form a working group, but we can form a working group too. It doesn't matter to me. I don't know what the next steps are. I did the first step.
Yeah. I think what you mean by with city council, I think it would be nice to have a study session.
A study session.
Yeah, that
Okay.
certainly could happen, and I can help organize all of that. And then I would involve the solicitors too.
Yep.
But it might be a good idea just to create maybe from this group, one or two people, maybe Sam and one other member, or pull in one of our associate members to really drive forward with it.
You're gonna have to talk to people from Public Works,
Yeah.
social event coordinator. We're gonna have to talk to people that deal with the local businesses to get a feel for that. Like, I don't know if economic and community development, I don't know who
Yeah, I mean,
else needs to be involved in those conversations, but it's more than just, there's a lot of people internally that need to just look over it.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so we need people to help explain it, then you work on the revisions.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's good to work in that fashion instead of just throwing it onto city councils. And I know we wouldn't have done that, but that happens. And then the departments are sort of stuck like, well, wait, what are we supposed to do with this? So I'd rather see it done in a way that we are educating people, awareness, bringing people together, support, yeah, I don't have the time.
I am on board with that.
But, yeah,
I'm happy to lead a working group and start, base discussions, meetings. Happy to meet with many person to explain,
When there was
but I think you're much further down the road.
the weed ordinance, it took 4 years. After 4 years, there was an outside group that, and I came in year 2, pushed for 2
There was
years.
a 6-page ordinance that was never passed.
Right.
But instead, they just changed the definition of what weed is.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, I posted that all over the place. People were envying us. We even had that much.
Yeah.
So
Because before that, any plant that was over a certain height, you had to mow. And so declaring certain plants, flowers, and vegetables not weeds allows them to exist in your yard now. But there's still no guidance for what a true alternative lawn is. So that's always still a possibility to try to create a better ordinance about that.
it was
But one of the issues with that was who's going to enforce it. Because currently the only person who I can identify a weed is myself. And I already do like 2, 3, 4, 5 different things, which I don't mind doing it. I still am the person who goes out when there's a question, but they just were afraid to make that big of a commitment at the time.
I don't think there ever was a study section, but there definitely.
No, there was.
Okay, because there was a lot of people who interacted with the planning commission.
There was a master gardener. We worked on the ordinance for a long time, the drainage ordinance, several
Just a
years.
quick question, just to bring it back to the plastic bag ordinance.
Yeah.
If this amendment, if this ordinance passes, what happens to all of the stores that are currently,
Well, there's a timeline, right? So you usually pass something like this with a long enough timeline. So the Microbeads Free Water Act, for example, was passed in December of 2015, but it didn't become effective until July of 2018. So there was 2.5 years built in
okay,
to let people, and so that's one of the points that you have in those conversations is what is that time frame,
okay.
right? When does this become effective? Like how long would you and that also allows, I think, something that Freda had brought up in a prior meeting was the idea of like food establishments coming together and forming a consortium so they could purchase more ecological friendly packaging alternatives to expanded polystyrene, for example, right? And so that becomes then part of the conversation too. So as you're going around and you're getting support and you're educating people, you're also suggesting like different paths forward on how we go about implementing this in a way that is cost effective.
And there are local businesses that do this already.
Yeah.
They swap plastic for like rice paper containers and don't give out straws unless asked. And even Giant Eagle eliminated their single use bags.
Yeah.
So, I mean, some of it is happening without an ordinance. So there's more support for it than there was like 10 years ago.
I'd like to advance a motion that we support the formation of a working group that Jackie would help convene, and that it would include Sherry if she's able, and maybe one other person from our EAC, and as Jackie said, either a full member or an associate member that might.
So you want to form a subcommittee, right? Yeah, okay.
More cheaper. Yeah.
We can do that. Well, to run subcommittees, so will we rate up the vendors or voting?
Or it can also be made up of volunteers that are not associated with the EAC. Yeah.
Do we want to make a subcommittee that isn't just for this, but that has this umbrella and it can evolve once we do this?
I think the item that
Or whatever you want to do.
Yes, we can always delegate that, and not necessarily against it. It's just a topic.
I would prefer. I would like to see if I'm going to be part of this, it would be my intention that this becomes the focus, and I think it should be a ad hoc committee, and that it goes away once this moves on, and then you create a different committee that works on something else. My heart starts palpitating at too much. It's like
So that the motion would be revised to focus primarily on the plastic bag ordinance.
Call it an ad hoc committee.
Or stick drag, or make something.
Right.
Well, but it's not just bags, right?
plastics,
Single use, I think.
single use plastic. Such single-use plastics, whatever you word.
As the chair, every subcommittee, so that's good. I'll be in subcommittee. Anyone else would like to say?
Interested.
All right, aren't you? They're just jumping right in.
So
I mean, I would be on it from the city, but I'm not an official member of it. But I'm happy to don't curious. I'm more excited for you.
Okay. I welcome you. You know that.
I think
For your support. Your support. Sorry. Beyond you, we need to don't agree with your support.
the official will vote to make the subcommittee, write a motion. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, sounds good. We have our first subcommittee.
That is. That's me who weren't introduced, so, no, we kind of know who you are, I know Molly, but does everybody else know Molly?
Yeah, there are associate members.
Oh, they are the associate members? Oh, I wasn't at the last meeting, that's why I don't know. Oh,
The
okay.
other.
They're not listed on the
BPC right now.
What is your name?
Shana. She was so worried. I said, it's a sophomore. You know.
Oh, our other.
So it's I didn't know how to work with Cindy, so it's her relationship.
Yeah, Hannah's
Was that explained?
Hannah is just coming to observe because she's been hired as the neighborhood research coordinator. Working very closely with the medics. So I thought it was a good experience for Hannah to come and maybe she'll be involved with something like that.
Great. Good to know that.
Yes, thanks, Brenna.
Any other questions, comments, major malfunctions regarding that one? All right, seeing none, we'll continue, and that's why I'm doing the ANC dialogue, and I begins the monitoring first line.
It was just one minor change.
Which was.
Or there was two. It was shall.
So,
To a.
yeah, Article 5, Article 1, so go to Turkey, Dollar, and the BSB may select up to was shells. The reason that, and then the other one was under Article 5, Section 3, you know, the applicant is to get members will submit a letter to the UNC describing their background as becoming a member. Preference will be given to applicants who can make at least a 1-year commitment to attend meetings. That sentence would change. It needs to say it has to have be able to make a 1-year commitment. Yeah, like think because I know the last meeting we discussed different scenarios. So well, we could do the experience within the accomplishments and events in their case. Way more complicated than what it had to be, so just changing it to preference will be given to the longer commitment.
Right.
I believe that's the goals of what we were proposing.
So I have a request that the next time we have this kind of thing, we should circulate it in the straight, straight through the whole, some way that we can,
The tracking.
yeah.
Sure, that's fine.
Here's me.
The only other thing that 'cause I'm redoing 2 other bylaws right now, is if you wanted term limits, for term limits for members. We,
Or to target us officers, we were.
We already have term.
Yeah.
And more than 60.
oh, I'm sorry. Do I? Never mind.
One last thing.
Yeah.
Years.
So this is a final draft. So it's one is needing the motion to approve that.
I would make a motion to approve.
All right.
I did it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hey, guys.
That was making too much.
Second here, amendments to the bylaws, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? So moved.
Bob, you still there?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, making sure.
Great, final item under old business is the EAC annual report. Sent that out, should we have made some, made some, revisions to it, and necessarily to legal thing to record, but there are any additional, corrections, additions, deletions, et cetera. And it encapsulates what we accomplished. Pretty straightforward, but that to go into a whole lot of detail regarding an annual report.
I just want to thank you about taking the lead because if you hadn't, we would all said, oh yeah, we have to do that. And then the next month we would have said, oh yeah, we need to. Look at you. I'm calling myself out as much as anybody.
Thank you for keeping it short. and sweet.
Yes, yeah, that
That's
too.
always
That's,
Nice to have.
and I did the annual report to the planning commission, it's the same thing. What we did is, you can look at the meeting minutes if you need to, if you want to collaborate.
I just have one suggestion, but you don't have, obviously, it's a suggestion, you don't have to take it. It's the City of Erie Environmental Advisory Council, and then parentheses, you refer to it as council. People might just confuse that with city council. I would think you would take CEIC and then just refer to yourself as the EIC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we should think about that, so everywhere it says council, judge, see.
Yeah, just so there's not.
I mean, to make a motion, I make a motion that every time it says council, it's changed to EAC.
Second.
Because I assume they're one of the groups she'll send the report to.
Yeah.
Do I have to do anything else besides keeping the files up for the tomorrow? You know,
No, I think that's pretty much it. It's they have it, available. I'm happy there. It's in there a lot, so.
It is in there more than I thought. I'm looking at it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good bill, I think.
bless you, run sneeze. Oh, you know, so, sorry. You just need on the phone. Thank you.
Other than that, other than that comment, great comment. Any other comments on any in the report?
I move that we approve it with the edits.
Step second.
Second.
All right, all in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. All right. Up next, meetings on new business. That was, yeah, amended item was water treatment facility.
Yeah, so at our last meeting, we asked that we invite Basil to join us for one of our meetings. And I have been talking to Basil, reached out to him. He plans to attend our April, at this point, our April meeting with one of his scientists who I can't remember his name, Ebenezer. Do you know Sarah, his last name?
That's a cool name.
Yeah, Ebenezer something, and I'm sorry, I can't remember his last name, but he is going to, he has it on his calendar.
It might not be here, but I can watch it.
Okay, so she was just generally, we talked about, you know, what the EAC is interested in, about how they can be of assistance and provide support as they are looking at other ways, other methods of removal of their waste products, byproduct. So the right way to put it, byproduct of the process.
Handling.
Handling their byproduct. So yeah, that's really all that I can tell you at this moment.
Meeting on the 23rd.
Yes, 23rd. New business stuff. Okay. Okay. Just one other quick thing that I wanted to mention, not about wastewater treatment facility, but actually Cooper, since he's started at the city, we talked a little bit about dark sky ordinances. And there's some interest. One of our actually our historic review commissioners is interested also in dark sky ordinances. And we have a meeting on the calendar. It's next week to talk through it a little bit further. I think that this would be a good board to get involved in that as well. So I just wanted to mention that might be another good subcommittee, but yeah, it's something that's very needed, especially
Cool idea.
there's some there's a lot of complaints right now about the LED lights around some of these smoke shops that are really, you know, a distraction and also just generally not very in line with some of the other lighting that's going on in downtown.
Can you describe to me what a dark sky means?
Yeah, and I'm not that, I still have to look through it. Does someone else know a little bit more about it than I do? Yeah, okay.
No. To basically dark sky ordinance would limit the amount of lighting, ambient lighting at nighttime, so you can actually see the sky at night.
Cool, okay.
It's-
Pretty straightforward. I just, yeah, sometimes it's just not aiming your lights out,
Yeah.
but aiming them down.
And they should
But
be.
there's different, it's not that you can't have any light at all, it's to keep it from shining up so far into the sky. Okay.
Like out in the traffic, right down really the light should just be cast on the property, not which obviously you can't stop all light because otherwise you wouldn't see it if you stop the light coming, but it's the glare from the bulbs is what's really the issue. And I'll tell you, from my experience, these LED lights, most people don't realize how bright they are until they're installed, and then you just lit off a whole neighborhood.
Yeah.
There's also, I mean, like, the EDDC, the new buildings that they built on North Park Road, they're supposed to be historically reminiscent, but nothing else had that kind of lighting before. I mean, one of the reasons for dark skies is so you can see the sky, but it's also impacting bird migration and bird behavior. So that's the other part. And it's not only birds, but insects, pollinators, and other insects.
And I can add a little bit here. I've worked with Erie Bird Observatory this fall as a volunteer. They have a program called Bird Safe, and I was one of maybe half a dozen volunteers that would walk the streets at sunrise during 2 months during the fall migration to look for birds that had flown into buildings. And it's the lights in the buildings that disorients the birds that are flying over at high altitude, and they'll come down into the city and the land. And then in the morning, they get confused because they see reflections of trees on windows and they'll fly in the windows. And we collected hundreds of birds. And
Yeah.
so there you would find support for this from environmental people and the bird people.
Do you have that? Do you have access to that data that you could share with us?
I can connect you with the
Yes, if you could. do
Sarah
that.
Sargent at the Erie Bird Observatory.
If you could do that,
Okay.
like, that'd be very helpful. I'd love to have more data around this, if we have any data around this.
Yeah, they-
Well,
I can do it for a couple of
they've
years.
been looking, they identified 300 state streets, and the insurance building is two of the worst.
Well, and we can map that, we can put it on maps and show those spatially, so that
Yeah, when
would
we
be.
find a dead bird, it went into a data set that was geographically referenced. So
That's
that we
great.
got geographic data on it.
I talked to Emily Fetchko, and she said, since I made her aware of it, she's been really knowledgeable.
Well, actually, Emily, I was on a meeting with Emily today, and Emily brought up lighting and signage, which she does frequently with when we're in meetings, because it's concern. Yeah, the lighting, especially LED, the LED concerns for downtown. But I mean, when you drive around the city at night, I mean, there are convenience stores and they think that they're illuminating their whole area, but I mean, their lights are turned up. So when you're driving, the glare really is, I mean, that's a concern, a safety issue for even driving at night like that.
Through my involvement, the city did pass an ordinance around signs. When, unfortunately, some of the worst offenders were grandfathered in, but, yeah, but the reader boards, but
But signage is included and should, I mean,
there is
really
a
could
sign
go-
ordinance.
There is, but it's,
Oh, people for
it could go further. Right. So those are two things in the last couple of weeks that we've been talking. And so,
That's actually second. And We're gonna stop creating non-conforming uses. People put like sign ordinances, light ordinances, zoning, when you do that, you create non-conforming use that's insane. Land ordinance and ordinance, that's not tied to zoning.
When I brought the whole thing to the city, you guys in Mill Creek had something better than what we had. Way what we had.
Yeah, it's-
The gauntlet has been thrown.
Stormwater ordinance
I think
before.
it's-
I'm bringing up on the other thing, I noticed, it must be a season, but the water authority, the housing authority, and who else was it? Somebody else, all three, and the board, they all advertised their landscaping bids. So I need to go back and look at it because the last time the water authority advertised, they had a 2-inch grass height weekly mowing provision in their ordinance. And which is nuts. And that's, anyway, we've been working with them, but I'm kind of curious what the parks do, but that is something to be aware of also. It's having a lot of things around landscape maintenance, and we're adding things that we had previously talked.
Okay, thank you. Noted.
We don't know what ours says. I don't remember what our current parks ordinance is.
Was under contract. If you have a internal meeting.
It's on this contract, but I don't remember what the contract said.
Just the only other thing that I wrote down that I wanted to suggest is since I've been doing bylaws and working on forms and agendas, Sarah, since you are an active participant typically in these meetings, I didn't know if the board wanted to, during roll call, have other people listed who typically participate. Like I could be listed, I'm not listed as roll call, and then Sarah, sustainability coordinator, could be listed.
And the associates.
The associates are not on here, but we could add those members as well. That's how I've been doing it with some of my other boards because she's usually here as input. So if you're okay with that, I don't know if you can make a motion. I'm just going to change the agenda for the roll call. Yeah.
You want a motion?
I don't need a motion. Because it's not listed. It's not listed.
You're in minutes. that you
Yeah.
just check off, yeah.
Sure, yeah, that would be easier for minutes, so I can add associate member.
Or and even if you have a section for guests, then you could just write in the name at the beginning of the meeting or something.
Yeah, but it's possible.
Yeah, no, it's here, I mean, this little
No, it's
chart, yeah.
I'm just making sure it's thing was a better good place with that.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
so,
we'll just change by law. You know what I mean?
yeah, no, I think just, yeah. All right, I'll do that, yes,
Anything else you want to discuss?
I can't help but add one more thing to our laundry list that we brought up. And I guess since it's still early in the year, if we're going to talk about light pollution, I would like to see noise pollution be addressed at some point. Being a bird watcher that had cataracts and rely upon my ears for hearing birds, I know we have a lot of noise issues in the city. And I just want to make that another subject for the future, even if it's not this year, but next year, because it's on my agenda. I'd like to see quiet spaces in the city, parks that have, as part of their planning, to have places where people can go where they don't hear traffic noise or there's vegetation planted to make it quiet. And it's a health thing.
And just to note, we're about to kick off the comprehensive recreation parks and open space plan. And EAC will be involved in that. So we will have ample voice to talk through some of that, you know.
Good.
Yeah.
You dog park. I hear you dog park. Sorry.
Well, according to statistics,
I
it's
know.
your size should have 4 of them.
I'm because I've heard that before from you, but one.
It really gets well used. I mean, I've been there at all strange times, even during the winter, and those trails are beautiful and they really get used.
It can be great if your insurance would donate that park they created at 6th and Holland for either smoking with dogs or something.
Smoking?
Well, because there are people walk out the door and they stand on the city streets and smoke. They should put them in their own park.
Sorry, that's not.
Your insurance statement the last smoking on the property.
Right, but
But then they
But then
go
they-
across the
yeah.
street and
Yeah,
there's nowhere to
right.
smoke.
Right,
Yeah,
so
I understand.
They create a park, let them smoke in their freaking park. I'll keep saying it till it happens.
It's running.
We have a
hospital.
repurposed
Right by
bus
their back
shed
door.
for them to smoke in front of. We have a repurposed bus shanty for them to smoke in behind City Hall.
But it's your insurance. I let them have their park. Let them and the dogs be there.
They used to cross the street.
They
A couple of years ago, people from area insurance would cross the street to where the children's museum was. And smoke on the other side. And you would see a line of people around the children's museum smoking because they couldn't smoke on your insurance. And I was like, what's the logic in this? This doesn't make any sense. Yeah. Do you remember that?
I just remember them in the park. I didn't know.
They haven't seen them before.
I mean, they lack any courage.
Well, where are they supposed to go?
That's
to their car. Yeah.
The
Smoke in their car. What do you mean?
park on 6th and
Well, they
Holland.
can't stop. Or yeah, but that's call us in like everyone else.
6th and Holland. She couldn't park it.
They should smoke in their car, then they get extra smoke
They
sense.
don't all drive to
What is building up?
It's the smoking car.
Okay. So I have one to adjourn.
I'm going to make a motion to adjourn. This will be the first time that we're giving out.
Do I have a second? Second. On the favor?
I.
Aye. All right. Let the record show that we were done at 3:52 p.m.